Gotta throw that out there.
You see them going deep?
Panthers?
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, as long as it depends who they match up against. As long as it's not Tampa, I think they should be fine.
So with that, I mean, what else has been going on in sports, Eric?
I mean, there were two big things. We're going to cover this a little bit later here, but Oregon, number 3 Oregon went down last night to Utah.
Okay.
So that was a big loss, and it was a convincing win by Utah. It wasn't even close. I think it was like 35-7. And then Terrence Crawford defends his WBO title over Sean Porter. I did not pay for the pay-per-view, but I did watch the highlights.
Yeah, all right.
And, man, those guys were throwing heavy punches like the whole time.
Physical.
It's not one of those like Floyd Mayweather fights where there's a lot of ducking and dodging and holding. Like,
gotta be swift.
These guys were out there, man.
Okay.
Like, throwing heavy punches. It was like the highlights that I saw was like 5 or 6 minutes of like just highlights of the fights, like covering kind of each round briefly. Yeah. It was great. Great. Terrence Crawford knocked out Sean Porter in the 10th.
Wow.
Out of 12 rounds. So congratulations to him on defending that title. Okay.
Which should take us, though, to our topic. Not a strong segue there, but we are going to talk about just sports in general, that in popularity. In general popularity. There we go. Let me find my words. But looking at... the U.S. and what sports are the outliers that we should pay more attention to, or what sports and sports fans should get more credit.
I mean, it's...
So this is a topic you picked, Eric. Frame it up for us.
Yeah. The way I think about this particular topic is, we have the football that just dominates the news. If you're talking about a 60-minute news cycle on SportsCenter, unless something crazy outrageous happened in one of the other sports, if it's standard news day, I mean, we're talking about football, 20 minutes, basketball, 20 minutes, and then we'd fill in baseball and hockey and, obscure sports and talking about other nonsense, like for the next, 20 minutes, Okay. And so, what sports maybe deserve a little bit more of the limelight?
I see.
Of sports that are just fun and exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Because I gotta be honest, man, I get real tired of ESPN in particular just pumping and throwing NBA down my throat.
If that's not what you're in the mood for.
I mean, NBA players
is
to watch. I love watching Ja Morant, obviously Giannis, Jimmy Buckets. I love watching a lot of these guys, but man, they are really, really pushing NBA, and it's because they've had such a long-term contract with them. So I mean, it obviously benefits them financially to do it, but what other sports maybe deserve that limelight a little bit more?
Definitely hockey. I would like to see a little bit more NHL. There's always been a stigma that there should be more inclusion in the NHL.
Yeah.
So I think they would have their work cut out for them on that. But, other than that, I mean, it would have to go to some of the sports that are bigger in other countries. Cricket and rugby are the two top sports that come to my mind.
Soccer, too. I mean, where do you place soccer?
Well, I mean, soccer is on an upward trajectory.
It is on an upward trajectory.
MLS is doing well, and
for sure.
And I think we're just going to continue seeing success. You're right. You're not going to turn on the evening news and go, here's what happened in MLS. But we also don't currently have that MLS team. But even in other cities, I mean, I didn't see the Rapids coming up very much in Denver.
Yeah.
I don't know if other cities. I could see like a new franchise like Austin saying, here's what happened with the soccer team. The club today, lost once again. They did not have a good year. But their fans are strong.
Yeah. I mean, a city like Austin is obviously going to be dominated by UT. Longhorn football, Longhorn basketball.
Sure.
And then they're going to fill in with the MLS.
Yeah.
And Kansas City too. I mean, maybe that's a market that you might hear that too. They're a very strong soccer market as well. Especially during the World Cup, we always see them being an area. The last couple World Cups, I've seen them specifically showing like Power and Light District in Kansas City.
I feel like soccer in general, though, is getting its respect.
It is on the upward.
That the country has ignored for a long, long time. So, I The reason I guess I'm not even concerned or like willing to bring them up in conversation is that they're going to get the recognition that that they should have had. It's coming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so rugby, and what was the other one for you?
Cricket, man.
Cricket. Yeah,
Cricket's is huge.
I understand rugby
because you got a 3-hour format.
I don't know the first thing about cricket.
Well, remember the game Hot Box? Just start there.
Nope.
No, when you're like you have two bases and you're standing on one base and you're going to play catch, or the two other people, your opponents, are playing catch, and you're basically stealing a base drill, and you're just trying to get to the other side before the ball gets there. So that
okay.
So take that, and that's a small part of cricket. In cricket, that person doesn't get to run on their own choosing. You have to wait for someone to actually hit the ball with the bat. Mm-hmm. And the most fun thing about cricket is that you can hit the ball anywhere. You can hit it. There's no foul territory.
Yeah.
Like in baseball. You hit it anywhere.
Okay.
And that's pretty fun. The strategy is more interesting too because your defense can line up anywhere in any configuration. There are positions, but everyone also has to be the bowler, like the pitcher. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really neat too.
Okay.
Like everyone's got to do that.
Okay.
It adds those kind of spicy elements that I like,
Yeah, and especially as a big baseball fan, I can see how you would fall in love with the strategy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's a total wild sport compared to baseball.
For someone that really does, like you said, want to see more hockey in the limelight. I love that fast-paced action.
Yeah.
I love
it's the fastest sport.
Quick change.
Hockey is so beautiful.
I'm going to have to take it down a level for speed because they're not on ice, but lacrosse.
Yeah.
College lacrosse.
That's a
I know
really
there's a professional league.
Really good call.
I've never seen it. Mm-hmm. I know there's a professional league, so I'm sorry, guys. I've never seen it. But college lacrosse, when it comes like April and ESPN is actually showing like the tournament for the college lacrosse, dude, I will sit down, I will turn that on, and I'll just watch it.
Man,
it's fascinating.
That is such a good call. I wasn't thinking about this when you had the topic entered in for us, like pre-show. That is the original American sport, too. That's a Native American sport.
It's awesome.
That is 100% North American, Like, lacrosse is a cool sport.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to, like, the, really where I would get my exposure even kind of growing up watching it would have always been the NCAA tournament for lacrosse. Like, we think about it with basketball. And the whole March Madness thing. This comes after that. I think it really is around April or May. But man, it is so much fun to watch. Like, I don't think they do 64 teams. I think they do like half that, like 32 or whatever. But either way, like it's awesome to watch them go through that and play the games and see the tournament style. And it's a fun setup, man. It's a fun sport. It's easy to follow too. Like if you've never seen lacrosse, you could turn it on and within a quarter or a half, like you can figure it out.
Right.
Like, you can figure it out very quickly.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
my only complaint about that sport is really that the goalie typically seems at such a disadvantage.
Oh, 100%.
Like, way too often.
I grew up,
give him a bigger net. I'm like,
I grew up.
Give him a bigger, less, or a smaller net or goal.
When I played hockey, I grew up being a goalie. And I was okay with it because you're padded. Dude, lacrosse goalies are not padded. I don't want to know what their legs.
Give them a bigger net.
Holy crap!
I don't know.
And those lacrosse balls are hard.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. And they come
deadly accurate too. Yeah.
Man, if one of those gets you in the shin, like I'd feel like I'm done.
Yeah,
coach, I'm out.
So what do you do though? I think that's a great sport to try to get more in the populace. Like how would anyone even try to do that? And I'm sure there are efforts to do so because, money is going to beget better talent and better showmanship and just like, better the sport, better community in a way.
Building up the professional level is going to be one thing. And then that obviously leads to more of the collegiate level. that leads to more of like the high school or the local level, but
we have some of that. There are some high schools in the country that are like all about lacrosse, or colleges, because they at least put the investment on. We're going to make sure these kids have the right uniforms, right equipment. They're ready to go out. There's a following. But after that, there's no outlet. It would be like many other collegiate sports. It falls in the fold of that, like said, it could be very well a much bigger sport.
I know there is a professional level, but like I said, I have no way to find it outside of subscribing to ESPN The Ocho. Right. So it's not going to happen.
It's only on The Ocho.
Yeah. Obscure Sports Quarterly.
No,
OSQ.
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So really, there's no answer.
Not how do you get of. I mean, it would be getting more exposure on the professional level to create that interest to grow within the collegiate level and the grassroots level of high school and private clubs.
What it would likely take is a large investment, someone who really cares, who believes in the product, gets a contract deal for either streaming or a cable network contract, like you were saying with basketball.
There's so much out there as far as
get the exposure out there.
Streaming options now too. I mean, partner with a Hulu or maybe Red Bull. I don't even know if Red Bull does something like that, but it seems like that could be something that Red Bull, with their stuff that they could get involved with too. That's a little bit more organized than the extreme, in the obscure. But that could be an outlet for them. Something along those lines to get that exposure on that, because getting a TV deal is probably going to be little to none unless there's a local team in said city. Where they'd only be on local TV and probably late at night, never live.
Yeah, unless you
2 a.m.
Unless you buy the airtime, though. I mean, it wouldn't be on at 2 a.m. Like that's such a 90s way of thinking, or like cable way of thinking. You can have stuff on demand, or because you can have so many different ways to view stuff. You can say, "Hey, we're just going to put this on YouTube. You want to watch this?" Facebook. I mean, think about the kind of sports outlets that we've seen. Just on the major league level, MLB, for example, has been on both those platforms.
Yeah.
I think if someone cared enough, and I think maybe that's what it's a bigger thing with deep enough pockets. Yeah. That's really all it's going to take.
Yeah. I mean, it's also predominantly a like East Coast, Northeast sport.
Sure.
But it doesn't have to be that way. Not a lot of lacrosse west of the Mississippi. Or even south. So most of the schools, especially if you look at that tournament or where they are, we had a friend when we were out in Colorado that told me a little bit.
But you can say that about hockey.
You certainly can, but
hockey's just bigger in the northern states or something like that. But
I mean, it was very heavily dominated by your Virginias, your Dukes, your UNCs, your Princetons, your Browns, like very dominated by those teams and still is. So, not to say that there aren't West Coast teams out there like a Stanford or UCLA or Colorado State or CU or something like that could make an impact, but I think that would maybe be a good way to do it. Make some impact in the tournament, and then bring it grassroots. That could help too.
Another sport we didn't really touch on are esports, and again, I think there is a future for that. So I just wanted to interject that. And then lastly, on a final note, my part on the topic, I have seen more professional cornhole games this year televised. And I hate to say it. I've seen it. I wasn't watching the full thing, but I had seen it on.
I have seen it once or twice.
More than the sports we're talking about.
Yeah. It's because everyone can play cornhole. And...
That's depressing, though.
Dude,
you can't play that, but you can't take the philosophy with any other sport. Like, not everyone can play baseball. Like, at least well. I mean, anyone can basically do the, take the basics.
It's kind of like golf, man. Like, everyone can play golf, but not everyone can play it well.
No, or professionally. You're right, yeah.
That's a much more difficult sport than cornhole. I don't think anyone would argue that.
No doubt.
Even in cornhole, that's even less athletic than golf. And golf athletes are like the pinnacle of fitness, especially them now, not the John Daly years, doing a bunch of cocaine and booze. how he comes up with those pants, man.
That's why he has a drink named after him.
Oh, John Daly, we love you. You're such a national icon.
Indeed.
So yeah, I mean those are some really good thoughts, kind of behind that. But cornhole is kind of the everyman's game. I mean, it's a backyard game, and you have it at all the barbecues. Like I can see